Call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the agenda in front of us. Is there any changes, additions, or corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
So move.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Moving on to the approval of the board minutes from the March 18th. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? Are there any additions or corrections to those? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. The board meeting minutes from March 25th. Is there any additions or corrections to those? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Public comment. Now's the time for anybody who'd like to make a public comment. There is none. We have no appointments. We have a closed session. We're gonna move that to the end of the meeting. Next up is the consent agenda. There's 3 items on the consent agenda. Any questions on those? If there's no questions, or is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. 3 appointments.
Is there a second?
Doing all 3 at the same time, boss?
Yep.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Does that mean Brian's around for 4 more years?
Yes, he is. Yep.
Yes. In the back.
Look at that smile.
Pretty lucky you got by today, bud.
Were you sweating?
Not frowning.
He's one of the very few people that we appoint every 4-year terms, so. Okay, action items. Number 1, consider approving purchase and service contract with ABC Woodland for community-based support employment, center-based supported employment and transportation. John.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is an annual contract that we do. Typically, I have this on consent, but with new commissioners, I'm trying to kind of walk through some of our usual contracts. This is a long-term agreement that we've had with ABC Woodland. They provide supported employment and training for adults with disabilities. And it's both community and center-based services that they provide. So some of the folks they work with are integrated into jobs with assistance in the community. Some are in jobs in their Woodland Center, which is here in Caledonia. So it's an annual agreement. This year, our not to exceed number is down significantly due to different a change in census and also service mix. The other thing I'd note about this contract is it's one of very few, it might be the only contract we have that is totally county levy. So there isn't any state reimbursement that helps support this, but it's a long-term agreement that assists adults with disabilities in our community to be employed and receive training.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the agreement? Contract, service contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Same contract we've always had with.
Yeah, it's just a reduction in the not to exceed. I mean, we'll see fluctuation in that over time, but it's the same basic agreement.
Same thing, everything's the same, just for approving the contract, like we
Correct.
always do. So moved.
So you change a provider here, the name to Sarah Timmerman? Am I looking at the wrong contract here?
No, it should be ABC Woodland.
It's scratched out and you got Bruce Remy, ABC Executive Director, then it's put, then
Oh,
Sarah.
the signature?
Yeah. Is that
Okay.
correct?
Perhaps they've had a change in their signatory, in that signature block.
Yeah, they scratched Bruce out and put Sarah Timmerman in,
Yeah,
her email.
sorry, I thought you meant that the contract was with Sarah Timmerman.
It just says provider.
Yeah, well, that's signature for the provider, so.
Okay.
And typically with or organizations we work with, that would be like a board chair or an executive director.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. Number 2, consider discussing public health building construction update. Don,
I've got a spreadsheet I'm gonna share with you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
Great, thanks.
So it's been kind of a busy week or so. Last Tuesday evening, we heard that the grant funding for the building project we're doing at the Community Services Building was rescinded at the federal government. And that money flowed through the Minnesota Department of Health. And so they informed us that we needed to stop all work and all payments for that grant. What this spreadsheet is an attempt to kind of figure out where we're at. MDH advised us that we would be able to be reimbursed through the grant for any expenses through March 24th. So we took a look at that, and our primary contractors are CDG, which did the architectural work. If you look across to the right, you see their contract was for $32,810, and then you see invoices that they have given us. They gave us an invoice back in November that was submitted to MDH. We add an allowable indirect to that, so we invoiced MDH $18,044.90, and that was received, or was sent in Q4, and we received revenue of that amount. We were going to be sending a new invoice, because those are quarterly. And so you'll see that those payments were $13,115 and then $1,214. We advised CDG and Weiser to collect all their expenses so that we could get those submitted to the state by 4/4 of this year, by the end of this week, actually. So you'll see a lot of these where we are submitting them on 4/4. So if you look at the total there, out of a $32,000 contract, we'll be paying $30,733 for the architectural work. A lot of that obviously is done up front, so they were pretty much done. They were gonna come back down a couple of times and specifically to do like a punch list and things like that. The next contractor would be Weezer Brothers, and you see their bid was $198,500, and our contract with them is for that. And then there was also an alternate that the board approved for crown molding. If you recall, there's kind of a separation at the ceiling, and so there was a crown molding deal. So the total of that agreement is $208,000. Yesterday, I was able to receive an accounting of what they've spent. We haven't received an invoice yet. We'll need to get that from Weezer to include for our remittance to the state by Friday. But what they've spent so far is $13,550. Primarily floor coverings and cabinetry is what I was told. And some time, so. So if you look at that, the total amount of the project that we had contracted was for $240,810. We're able to put $44,000 of that toward this grant. Obviously, we're just on the cusp of major construction, and that's where a lot of the time and the payments to subcontractors and the like would have gone through Weezer Brothers. Total available grants, as of the 31st of December, we had a total of $330,188 in grants available for the project. As you recall, those were, they came to us through CDC. They came at the end of the vaccine push, and they were intended for, to support vaccine and also response in the wake of COVID. And so we had previously worked very closely with MDH to make sure that we could use those funds for the construction that we were looking at. Also, we were able to, since the grant isn't gonna come anywhere near being fully spent, Fillmore County reached out to us. They had some expenses that are allowable under that grant, not construction, but other things that are allowable. We got an invoice from them for $24,000, $24,239. Received that yesterday, and that will be going with our invoice at the end of the week. So that's kind of an accounting of where we're at right now. Prior to construction, the week prior to having Weezer there, we did a good deal of deconstruction. So we've got people in temporary office space. Our front entrance to the public health building is closed. We moved our front desk over to the entrance by the Veteran Service Office. So we were prepared for construction to begin. Things been taken off the walls, stuff moved. Prior to today's meeting, I said, let's just wait and see where the board wants to go with all of this. We do have a few other grant opportunities that we received from MDH that we're trying to get some word as to whether we would be able to use those dollars for, to offset costs of construction. None of them would fully cover the costs as this grant would have. So, that's kind of where we're at. Questions?
Has MDH given you any indication that, how they're going to cover some of these areas, or if they are going to? They seem rather silent at this point.
You
It's
mean
still in,
the invoice that we're sending them?
no, not the invoice, but just
Yeah.
anything that's outstanding out there that counties are working on right now.
Yeah, you know, a number of us have reached out on some of these other grants, particularly grants that were significantly underspent last year. Those would be Minnesota or state money, not federal money.
Right.
But I have not received any word on that.
I haven't either with my, I've been
Through
contacting, yes, every day
Yeah.
since this happened, and it just is, it doesn't seem like they have a real plan yet at this point,
Yeah.
and also it's separate monies. So with the
Right.
federal compared to state, so that kind of is an issue.
We do also have another smaller CDC grant that we received. You know, it's hard. I talk about grants, and grants often in my mind, and I think in your mind as well, kind of give you the thought that we apply for this grant and we're selected for the grant. It's a time-limited thing. Some are like that, but a lot of the grants that come to us from MDH, they're more like an allocation. We have another CDC grant that wasn't something that we necessarily applied for, but came to us during the pandemic, and it's called CDC Infrastructure, which was interesting that they call it infrastructure, but it was about people. They wanted us to build capacity with a one-time grant. Allowable expenses in that is training and planning and things like that, so we've done some of that, but there's still some money available in that. I don't know whether that would be something that we could put toward construction.
Well, possibly with training facilities or better
Right.
capacity within your building.
Right.
Sometimes I'm sure that can be, you know, rewritten, but,
That, of course, is CDC money and federal, so I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as stable at this point.
no, but maybe
But
we
it's-
need to use it now rather than have it cut, you
Right,
know?
right.
If it is available, and we can use it. How about my other question is, just reevaluating with Weezer Brothers or the estimate on how to get this work done. Is there a way that they could come in and say, you know, minimally, this is what we could do, rather than that full project that was presented, that they were working on, to have it partially, you know, done, or something that, like priorities that need to be done, especially since it's been under renovation in the last week.
Right. The one thing I can think of right offhand is, since it was a federal grant, we were required to bid it at a federal prevailing rate. And that may have an impact on cost. I'm not sure, maybe Brian can speak more to this. I have not been been participant in working on building projects in the past, but not kind of doing the contracting and such. So I don't know if it would need to be rebid then, or how that would work. But we did federal prevailing wage rate strictly because it was a federal grant and it was required of us. I don't know the difference between that and what they would typically do. And they are also, you know, they made agreements with other subcontractors, and so how that shakes out, I'm not sure. We could also sit down with our folks from CDG and say, are there some places that we can make some adjustments to the plan? We kind of went bare bones to begin with because we did not want this project. I didn't want to sit in front of you and tell you I need more money for this project, and yet here I sit. So we really tried to keep it as bare bones as possible. We also wanted to keep it focused on the client-facing space in the building. So I would imagine we could make a few adjustments, but I don't know that there would be a lot there.
Is construction halted right now? There's nobody doing nothing?
It is halted, yes. Right away, when we found this out, we contacted Weezer and said, we need to pause. And initially, we were wondering whether there was something that could shake out where we could still start construction on Monday. Obviously, we didn't start construction yesterday.
So how many dollars has Weezer ordered in materials so far?
What he has said is that they have incurred expenses of
13,500?
$13,550.
So if he gets reimbursed for that, we can just,
He's free and clear.
Yep.
But you'd own a bunch of flooring and cabinetry.
Yeah.
so flooring meaning carpet?
Yeah.
Okay, so we could have, what,
And laminate,
okay, so we could hire a different contractor and make it a different project to put in the new flooring and laminate, could we?
Yeah.
You mean
Or-
subcontractors?
Or, yeah, I mean, cause this project is basically dead in the water. I mean, because the money's not there no more. This is gonna be used, all this money was gonna be used for this project, so. If we own this material of 13,500 of flooring, carpet and laminate, then we could maybe we could talk to Weezers and have them install that and call it good. I was in the office yesterday, I looked at it, it looked like the only thing that was moved out of there was the front desk. Rest of the office looked intact, so it's not a major problem to put that all back, put the front desk back. So, is that a possibility? And then we'd be clear with Weezers?
Yeah, you know, what I said to Weezer and to CDG is, you know, it's my belief that we did not want our contractors to be left holding the bag, and that the state has provided us an avenue to be able to charge the grant for things, expenses incurred prior to or through 3/24. I'm not sure what the breakdown is of time and materials on this. Probably very little time and mostly materials would be my guess.
So it looks like all we can do is hope we get some money from the feds and keep digging.
Well, the money's not there, it's gone. It's got pulled, so, I mean, this money came to us back in, April
ways
of
back.
2021. And we've been sitting on this money of, you know, back in, end of 21, it was at 359,000 in Houston County. Fillmore County was a little bit less, but they were able to spend most of theirs.
Correct.
But we haven't. I know, recalling from our joint Board of Health meetings, that Fillmore County would say, well, if you guys aren't gonna spend it, then we can find a way to spend it. Cause we need to spend it or it's gonna be gone, and here we are, it's gone, so.
Well, in fairness, the fuse on the money was, there's two grant sources. One was June of '26 and, I'm sorry, June of '25, and the other was, I think.
Well, it gets renewed every year, right? I mean, there's carryover
Yeah, it was
here.
carried over.
Federal COVID grant carryover, grant number 222, it was carried over. And in October and December of 2022, we were at 341.
Yeah. If we,
Go ahead.
if we were able to have completed a project prior to the money being rescinded, obviously, we would have had it spent.
Well, it's easy to look back and say, we should have done this 2 years ago, John.
Right,
But we can't do that because we didn't.
right.
So if it's just my opinion, if we got that material bought with the flooring, we could work on an agreement with Weezer or anybody to install that for us, put the front desk back. We have some capital improvement money that we could use for that or not. Yep,
The exact amount right at the moment, but
we would have to figure out how to pay for that. It's gonna be, the materials is gonna be paid for, right, through this grant?
I believe so, yes.
All right, so then it'd be just the labor to install this that we'd have to pay.
To be clear, I'm not sure, like, is it all the flooring? Is it all the cabinetry? I don't know what they have. My message to Weezer was, give me an accounting of everything you've expensed through 3/24. So it might be some of their time in ordering and doing shop drawings and different things like that to determine how they were gonna do their ordering. They had a construction timeline that took them through, the end of the project, and so it's stopping midstream. I'm not exactly sure what that accounts for. It's me assuming that it probably is mostly materials.
I'm guessing there's not much, because that's a very small amount.
Yeah.
Yep.
To be too much in materials.
Yeah, I'm guessing that too.
Could we get a, inventory on what has been purchased?
Sure.
And then maybe some quotes, and somehow find out whether or not it for sure is gonna be reimbursed. And
Yeah.
then we'd be able to make a little better, moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know that we have enough information to make any decisions
I don't-
today.
Oh, this is just a discussion, you know, we're just throwing out ideas here, so.
And I can, we will be also looking at the revenue side of the equation too, to see if there's other revenue we can bring to the project.
This 13,550 is part of the amount that you have to submit by 4/4
Correct.
in order for what's left of the grant to pay for it. And do we have any guarantees that it will be paid for?
The state is saying they will honor anything we get them, that is expensed prior to the 24th and gets to them by the 4th of April.
We need to get our invoices and have them done by the 4th. and
So that was
then
the
decide
cutoff
what we're
date
gonna do,
from,
right?
from the
Today is the
government.
first, you gotta get hopping, bud.
We need to table this until.
Well, we have.
We're not making a decision anyway, we're just discussion.
Okay.
We're only waiting on one invoice, and that's from Weezer. They gave me a rundown of their total. And I said I'd really like to have it by end of day yesterday, so I had something to talk to you guys about. But we'll probably get an invoice from them in the next day or so.
Who do you contact, who do you talk with at Weezer?
Neil,
Neil Weezer.
Neil? Okay.
So I guess what I'm hearing from you guys is, you know, we will look at what that constitutes, what materials we have, what we can do with those materials. Whether we can work with Weezer or somebody else to actually install that, and then what, if anything, we can find as far as revenue from other sources
Yeah.
through MDH.
Like the CDC, anything that we have that's still out there.
That's what they're saying.
Could you ask them what it would, if there'd be a penalty if we were to return those materials?
I will ask him that as well, like a restocking fee. or
Restocking fee, so then we could just, yep.
That wouldn't be something that we could get the grant to cover, because we're incurring.
No,
that
I
now.
understand that. I understand that. A restocking fee.
Yeah,
Do you know if there's any penalty for stopping this contract?
I don't know. There isn't anything in the contract language that
All right.
suggests that.
Okay.
Kind of unprecedented, so I'm sure it wasn't the plan that
Well,
the
I'm-
money would cease.
I'm sure they've had other contracts that have stopped dead in the water.
Yeah.
Can't be their first rodeo in that business.
Yeah.
Well,
Keep us updated.
get some more information and
Secure what funding we can and bring that list to us.
Yeah, yeah, will do. If you guys have questions or anything else along the way, please feel free to reach out.
Thanks for the updates you've been doing.
Yeah, thanks.
appreciate that.
Staying on top of it.
All right, that's all I had.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Number 3, consider awarding the T-hanger contract to Olympic Builders contingent upon state and federal funding. Brian?
Oh, that should be updated.
Oh,
It is updated online. We've already awarded it to them.
yeah, that's
We
right.
need to hire that, Ryan
Yep,
will
so-
explain, but
yep.
that is updated.
Yep, go ahead.
Yep.
Yes,
Is
sir.
Silas
I
on,
already lost and we ain't started.
Silas on Zoom?
I, no,
Silas is on Zoom.
okay, we'll get him on. Sorry.
We will try to get. Well, he hasn't called. Doesn't mean I haven't missed a. Yeah, I got a text from him a minute ago saying still waiting for entry into the
Yeah,
meeting.
because in the minutes, it showed that we approved it
We did approve it.
contingent upon state and federal funding. That's gonna be the key there.
It's different funding.
He said we're gonna do it.
Yes, so the board previously approved awarding the contract to Olympic Builders contingent upon state and federal funding for this. So, since that time, there has been additional discussion with Olympic Builders, the contractor, and they're telling us the time frame is 3 to 4 weeks for shop drawings, and then once shop drawings are approved, it is 6 to 7 months to get the materials for the structural steel components of the building. There's been some additional correspondence since the county board approved the funding to, from the FAA saying that essentially they can't start issuing grants yet But Congress has appropriated the funds, President has signed it into law. Right now, they're currently waiting for the checkbooks. They're preparing to load the checkbooks with funds so they can start writing the grants. They don't have any more assurances at this point, but these entitlement funds are appropriated to the airports on an annual basis. The funds are there, essentially, they just can't start writing the grants. So, I sent on some correspondence to all the commissioners, and then I forwarded a couple emails on to Commissioner Johnson as the board chair. I don't know if those were passed on, but essentially what the FAA is saying is that they can't assure us that the funding is gonna happen, but everything is looking really positive that they'll be writing a grant hopefully soon. Usually the FAA grants come out in July-ish. So we're slightly ahead, but if we wait till July, by the time they get the materials ordered and get the prefab structures or the pre-engineered metal buildings, to us, it's gonna be probably pushing spring. So we wanna know is, can we start moving forward with,
It's here, but I can't get them up there.
so I was here, okay. So trying to figure out, can we give Olympic Builders the notice to proceed so they can start to get the shop drawings submitted to us, get the materials ordered, even though we don't have that grant in place yet. So let's see if Silas jumps onto the screen, and maybe Silas can explain a little bit more if he. There he is. Silas, can you hear us?
Silas, can you hear us?
You're good, I think you're moved, no, you ain't.
Very quiet. Can we turn it up?
Okay, yeah, you're not over the full.
His volume needs to go up.
Try it again.
Go ahead, Silas, see if he can hear you now.
It is just through the speaker on her computer.
Oh, it's
not
probably
through
why.
the full system.
Okay.
Put it in front of the microphone.
Yeah.
Just a second, we're trying to figure out how to get, so we can hear you.
Speak really loud, please.
Yelling in his office, people think.
Can you talk again, Silas?
There, something's going up on the speaker. Maybe the volume?
Silas, I'm gonna try to connect you another way. I think you'll stay on the screen. So I apologize, just bear with us here.
So Brian, this, the letter that we had dated March 18th is the last information that we had, and this information should be accurate, is that right? No changes? Looks like DHU, T-hanger construction, all the considerations. I'm just looking at the funding amount from the federal government was 95%.
Yeah, so the funding hasn't changed, what we're anticipating, and so what we're hearing from the FAA is that, they're anticipating to be able to issue grants soon, they just can't do it quite yet. But what we don't wanna do is tell the contractor that they can't start moving forward, and then they come back to us and say their material costs are increasing, they wanna have
Right.
increase in price for their materials, and their delays, so.
Yeah, I think we talked about that the first time.
You
somebody
think,
brought it
Silas,
up.
can you speak now?
Yeah, can you guys hear me
Here
now?
we go.
There,
Perfect,
now we can.
thank you.
Did I answer your question, Cindy, or want me to
Yep.
explain?
Yeah.
So Silas, I don't know if you heard everything I said before, but can you kind of speak about this request?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for the opportunity here. We kind of discussed it at a previous county board meeting, is that, in discussions with Brian, we wanted to let the project out for bids as early in the year as possible to kind of lock in the best possible bid price. 2 bids were received for the project, and we did receive, I would say, a pretty favorable bid from Olympic Builders. And Houston County has since that time secured sufficient amount of federal funding required to cover the total cost of the project. It's just under $1.7 million total project cost, of which, the FAA is paying 95%. The state will contribute 2.5% to keep the county share at 2.5%, which will be just a little under $42,000 total. But what was going on with the federal government potentially not receiving funding, that has all since been taken care of with the White House and Congress kind of signing into a law, a continuing resolution to keep the federal government funded through the end of their fiscal year, which is September 30th, which means that the FAA has their checkbook loaded and ready to offer their grants for this project. Brian did ask for confirmation last week, in another discussion with the FAA, just to confirm that it's just a matter of when Houston County will receive the grant offers, so that there is, minimization of any potential risk of the grants not coming through, of which the FAA did state that, yes, they do anticipate the grant offers being issued for Houston County for the project, but it just may take, 3-4 month timeline for the county to receive them.
So you will guarantee 100% this money will come?
I would not go that far, Commissioner, to guarantee it. I understand the question for it, so I'm providing the best information that I have for the county to make as educated of a decision as you can.
So what I remember, or what I heard you say, is that this was approved by the president and the Congress in that recent continuation bill.
Correct.
That's been about, what, 3 weeks ago, maybe?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's to fund, that'll keep the government funded until, what was it, September or something like that?
Yes, the end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th.
Yep, all right. And that money is in there, so it should not,
He signed it.
he signed it, everybody signed it, so it should be good.
Really.
So you should be able to say 100% that we're gonna, no, I'm just kidding.
So I have a question for you, Silas, that I don't know if this will impact the board's decision, but so if the board says, yeah, we can proceed today, it's gonna take, 3 weeks for shop drawings, maybe a little bit longer to get those approved, and then the material ordered, it's gonna take several weeks, before they even start manufacture on the components. If we want, we find out in 3 months that the funding's been pulled or we're not gonna get it, of which seems very unlikely at this point, but have you talked to Olympic or any idea, could we cancel out of that order at that point without penalty?
I have not had that discussion with Olympic yet. Pending the outcome of the board meeting today, I will engage Olympic to have a conversation with them, to kind of, because the first step would be getting the construction contract issued first, and then I believe they would start doing shop drawings. But I do believe that's an appropriate question to ask them, Brian, just considering, kind of the climate that we're dealing with.
Well, this is a big project.
It's a large dollar amount.
If we lose 95% of the funding, we're on the hook for $1 million.
Yeah, and that's where I think, it may be worthwhile to ask that question, if it ties up a few $1,000s worth of Olympic Builders' time, but there's no material costs, for several months from now, can we get backed out, because we will know on this grant in the next few months. It's not gonna be,
Well, when we get those checkbooks, they get their checkbooks with the funds in them, then we know we're in good shape, right?
yeah.
The FAA, I mean.
Yep, they just need to be told, okay, yep, you can start writing the grants and release the money. So that's all they're waiting for, is that confirmation you can start writing the grants.
So it looks like this letter from the deputy manager of the district, FAA, last Monday mentioned that they are still expecting notifications about those checkbooks being loaded and ready for the program. So it's actually not known exactly yet, right? But They haven't seen it, but they're not expecting any issues. It says not expecting any issues, but they haven't actually,
I read that letter too, yeah.
Yeah, yep, so they're not expecting any issues, so entitlement funds, so these funds, we get $150,000 each year, every year. It has been that way, I don't know how many decades, but for sure for the last 17 years I've been at Houston County, every year we get $150,000 dedicated to our county. The funding that's being used for this project, is primarily these entitlement funds. We're borrowing, it's past money, it's future money, coming in, money coming in from, city of Austin. So it's this money that we do get on a regular basis. It's not, some one-off grant that's not usually funded. This is a normal routine funding that's just tied to this project.
It was Albert Lee, right? Not Austin.
Was it, yeah, it is, sorry, it's Albert Lee, yes.
Albert Lee we're getting.
Yep, yep.
That's a different source, but.
Nope, that's the same money. So we borrowed some of our $150,000, to Albert Lee in the past, and they're gonna borrow some money back to us. So it's the same funding source.
their allocation.
It's just their allocation instead of our allocation.
Yeah, which we back and forth trade, whatever, yep. So in that letter that Silas received from Jake Martin, it says, we expect some notification as soon as soon about the checkbooks being loaded and ready for the program, so.
That's what I just read.
Yep, so soon would be, it'd be nice to know when that happens. So,
Brian, did you share with the commissioners that email that Jake Martin did forward you then
Yeah.
last week as well?
Yeah, so the one so I sent the one on that he responded back last Monday. And then there was a couple correspondence that Jake forwarded on, or sent on to me, on Friday that I forwarded on to, Commissioner Johnson. So I didn't send that on to all the commissioners, but,
What's that say?
so those ones essentially, I can read them for you in full, so. The one says, for federal program using EIP entitlement funding, the budget was recently approved, Congress appropriated the funds, and the president signed it into law. We know that our headquarter office in DC is currently preparing to load the checkbooks with these funds so we can write grants. I do not have any more assurances except to follow the FAA's previous instructions from December to submit an application with bids to our office by April 28th, 2025, so we can get our grants executed. And then the second one that he forwarded on was the notice that they received as far as approaching deadlines, and in that, kind of said the same thing. We need your help to ensure another successful grant year. Congress approved and the president signed the full year continuing appropriations and extensions act 2025, CR, the continuing resolution. The continuing resolution contained an increase to the $4 billion authorization or authorized for grants under the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024. Great news for both airports and the Office of Airports, and that kind of goes on with some of the stuff in the process. So everything's along that same line. The funding's been approved. We're just kind of waiting for that. Let's keep moving forward and getting the stuff submitted for grants. So they want information submitted to them. They want to be able to prepare grants. They just don't have the authorization to start, signing the grants.
Well, we need to make a motion then to go forward with this and then see how the funding lays out.
Yeah, and I think it would be good, before you do that though, Silas, so getting the stuff prepared by Olympic for them to get the contract signed and back to us with the county signature and everything on it, that might be a week or possible 2 for that, I would say, right?
Yeah, I'd say it probably 2-3 weeks to get
we
contract
could bring it back at
executed.
our third regular
Yeah,
meeting.
so could we bring this back at the third meeting, or bring it back in 2 weeks? And then at that same time, also find out what will happen if we don't get this grant approved here in the next couple of months, can they get the start working on the shop drawings, get the material, find out what the penalty is if we cancel out on the material order in 3 months. That way,
So
at
if I
least,
say-
that way we know if we're really committing to the full 1.7 million if we back out, if we're only committing to a few hundred thousand. Or, sorry, a few thousand, not a few hundred thousand.
So issue the construction contract, but have it come back to the county board for approval at I'm just looking up the schedule here,
Yep.
bear with me.
It'd be
The 22nd,
Yep.
or sorry, the 15th.
So this can I just ask while he's looking that up? So if airports aren't planning any development, the FAA assumes that you will not use your apportioned funds. So don't we have to let them know by the end of this month? 28th is the date I see on here. 28th of April.
Yes.
That you submit an application.
Yep, and we've been submitting stuff. We've had a lot of conversations,
Okay.
myself and especially Silas with them, kind of telling them what our plans are for the funding, not only for in 2025, but also in future years.
In addition to that, we will be sending in the grant applications tomorrow. But the next county board action item is the final piece for that, construction administration,
Okay.
task order with Bolton and Bank. So the grant applications will be submitted tomorrow. And then I will talk with Olympic, send them the construction contracts for their side and then bring those back to the county board once we receive them back for final approval.
That sounds like a good plan.
So we have what we need for now that's going on. We'll just wait and see what Olympic says.
I feel pretty confident with the funding because he signed it,
Yeah.
And Congress.
and the money that was signed by the past administration is what he just dumped.
Well, this is current.
Correct,
And
that's what I'm saying, I
The issue
feel
with that
comfortable.
COVID
is that
money it was COVID
It
money,
was
Yeah, the
his
COVID.
idea, so he signed it.
right? But it was when COVID.
I just feel more comfortable with this
past
than
COVID.
the
Yeah,
other
this
side of
is, this is current, I'd say, this year.
it. Correct.
So
I agree.
with this table number 3, we go to 4.
I don't see any harm in tabling number 3 for now, as long as, we can still start working on that contract and just come back in 2 weeks.
That's the next part, right?
Yep.
4 is the contract.
Yep, and then number 4, the next one on the agenda would be to approve Bolton and Mink for the construction administration services. So, during construction, there's different requirements that the FAA has for building inspection and documentation and stuff. So, we could try to get our own in-county staff up to speed in all those FAA requirements, and when, they don't generally inspect buildings. So it's different type of work than what we're used to. So Bolton and Mink provides that service. They've inspected T-hanger construction projects in the past. They know the FAA process a lot better than us. So we would like to we would like to proceed with having Bolton and Mink do the construction administration for this project. And just so a little bit of back history on Bolton and Mink's hiring. So every 5 years, we need to go through a consultant selection process for FAA funds. So we've gone through a process. We usually get anywhere from 2 to 4 consultants that submit that want to be our airport consultant for the next 5 years. Within that process, you give them a list of the type of projects that might take place, and the consultant is selected based on their qualifications. So Bolton and Mink was selected as being the best consultant that we've for our airport. And then with that though, there's not a bunch of costs tied to that. FAA or federal funds, you select the consultant based on their qualifications, and then you have contracts or work orders that get done in addition to that for whatever aspect of that consulting work that you need done. So this is, essentially you're adding on, you're telling Bolton and Mink, yes, we want you to do this work, here's the cost. So they've already been hired as the firm of choice for the county. So now it's like, do we want to use them for this inspection? And I believe that we actually do. So
Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, we do Boltman and Mink. We've dealt with them for many years already. Done a really good job, so I'll make a motion that we go with Bolton and Mink.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you. Thank you, Silas.
Thank you,
Yes,
Silas.
thank you all.
Yep.
Have
See you
a
in
good
2
morning.
weeks. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Number 5, consider approving service agreement with Dynamic Life Cycle Innovations. Amelia.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I guess for the benefit of kind of the new commissioners, we do collect e-waste at our drop sites regularly. It's not like it's a special event. So Dynamic Recycling then is the vendor that takes all of that. So this is just a regular agreement with them that we do every couple years. There has been no major, or is no major change in this one, except for the pricing. And most of that, there, as you'll see, there were a couple that just say call, so there's no definitive price, but the rest of them actually have changed in our favor. So,
It's down.
yeah, as far as charges are less and credits are more.
They do a great job, I've heard.
Yeah, and actually last week, the MPCA had sent out an email regarding some of their state collection events, and Dynamic is the vendor that they're using for that as well. So we're pretty fortunate to have them very close here.
Make a motion to approve the service agreement.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Number 6, accept the resignation and retirement of Cindy Hagedal, Administrative Legal Assistant, effective May 1st, 2025, and with thanks for her 46 years of service to the residents of Houston County.
I really wish she was here, but they have a jury trial that's starting today, so they're pretty tied up. But
She's still working.
yeah, she has served 46 years, and she's going to be leaving us effective May 1st, 2025. So I think it'll
Well,
be
we
a
thank
loss.
her, we thank her for 46 years. There's not too many people that go that long anymore in
Rare.
public
Nope.
service, but
Absolutely
we
not.
always appreciated her. She's always been very good.
Yeah.
And make a motion to approve,
Is there a second?
accept her resignation.
Greg, second it? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Number 7, initiate a competitive search for a .08 FTE legal assistant.
Yeah, so I put this on to the agenda off the consent agenda. We did speak about it in the personnel committee a little bit. Kind of had some information that the county may have an appetite to not replace this position. So we did speak about it a little bit in the personnel committee. Kind of came out of the personnel committee without quite a consensus on what needed to be done. Our interim county attorney right now, she obviously wants to fill this position, and then she has another county attorney, assistant county attorney starting today. I do know that there was some comment from the outgoing individual that possibly in the future, you know, that they could consolidate and not have 2 legal assistants up there. I did speak with her on that behalf, and we did have a good conversation about that. She indicated necessarily not right now is the best time, but you know, that could be a future thing of looking at this position even more. But I just wanted to kind of open it up for discussion as far as if what your thoughts were as,
Was Cindy a .8?
she was a
Okay.
.8, yep, and there's 2
Replacing.
.8s that are up there at this time.
Okay, got it.
I don't feel it's taking it away is not the right thing to do at this time.
And obviously, the department doesn't think so either.
Yeah, yep, they wanna fill that position. I did, like I said, I spoke to their interim county attorney and she would like to fill the position. And,
We just hired 2 legal assistants. I don't know, how many people we gotta hire to replace her?
Legal assistants or county
Assistants.
attorneys?
Assistant county attorney.
Assistant county attorneys,
We hired 2 of them now.
right? But we lost Tess.
He replaced us.
Yeah, Brent.
Tess was a lawyer.
Contract.
Said she was, I don't know if she.
Okay, I'm not gonna go there, but, the justification to go back to 2, which we had 3 county attorneys before, was we lost Tess. I've been in their office watching what those girls do compared to what the lawyers, that's a separate, lawyers have their responsibilities, they have theirs. It's just my opinion.
Well, I agree with you, but our budget, we gotta look at our budget too. I mean, this thing's getting way out of hand with all the union contracts. And now we got big troubles in public health. I think we gotta lay low here. I think we should hold back myself, but you guys do what you want.
Well, no, I agree with you, Greg. We need to be careful. Cause there's gonna be more state money being cut from us.
There you go, I just said it.
State budgets, they're facing a $6 billion deficit. And so they're gonna pass a lot more costs down to the counties on these programs. Now, it'd be nice if that were to be the case, that we could say, okay, we're no longer gonna do that program. But if it's required by law, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place on that. So I understand what you're saying, Greg. I really do.
So right now we have the interim county attorney, and are both the assistants on staff now?
yep, the second one did start today and they're both brand new attorneys.
And Cindy's here for basically another month.
Another month, yeah,
So
yeah.
can we kind of put the brakes on a little bit?
And we could.
Take a look at this after our next regular meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we could table that. And like I said, I really wanted Sue to be here, but she has a jury trial today. And she did want this kind of on the agenda sooner than later because she's worried about that time of losing Cindy and then being down one because, best case scenario, we're looking June 1 by the time we do all the advertising and the interviews and all that. So we could definitely do that, is table this and come back and have a conversation about that.
I would like to propose that in the meantime, if we could have some information, I mean, the assistant attorney position is a different role
Correct.
than the legal assistant. They perform different job duties. So what I'd like to see is kind of an account of what do they need that .8 for, and an additional .8. So kind of lay out what are their duties, who's doing what, and just have more of a process review, and then at least have an explanation of what they need. Maybe they need a .5, rather than to just put it in there and replace what's already there, to actually have a review and possibly make some process improvements or something like that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
like I said, I think that we need to keep in mind that just because we've added those assistant attorney positions, they're different, and maybe they generate more work for the legal assistant, I don't know. So, in the meantime, if we could find that.
It would hopefully be the case, that with the new attorneys on board, that they would be able to pick up more of the work that some of the legal assistants were doing for their attorney.
And I think
don't know for the future.
and I think that's a thought process that is out there. That's the possibility of why in the future that,
Yeah.
that.
Could have a 1.0 legal assistant.
Or think
Yeah.
of something else.
.8 is,
Another way to do it.
they're receiving benefits, correct?
Yeah, they're prorated benefits.
But it's at .8.
Correct, yes.
So would there be a significant increase having one full-time?
I don't believe so. I do know the .8 that is there doesn't want to go to full-time. So you would either have to look at hiring a full-time or, yeah, so.
So, but review some options,
Yeah,
maybe,
we can definitely do
and
this,
then
yep.
kind of justification.
Yeah.
if that-
Maybe our jail will blow up and we'll have a lot of people in jail. Then we'll have a reason to hire somebody if we have a lot of people going to jail. But right now, what do we got in jail? Anybody know? One, two?
I haven't looked lately.
Yeah, I'd like
I
to know
keep-
that
I can't get on the
capacity
website
anyway,
most
if you
of the
can.
time.
I guess
So
I'd qualify that it's not the jail population.
that's their workload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the workload.
It's all the other.
There's a lot of civil things and child
it's-
protective
it's-
things,
yep.
and there's a lot of,
Yep.
um,
Way
outside.
more than just putting people in jail.
The inmates that's a different,
That's a tiny
I don't think they
portion of
have to
what they
deal with a
do.
lot of that.
So is that okay, Brent? Can
Yeah,
you-
absolutely. We can definitely put something together and, yeah, absolutely. And I did, talk to Sue and said, you know, there's a possibility we'll table this and come back, and so,
Well, that's what
Yeah.
we'll do then. We'll table it.
yep,
For
we
now.
can definitely do that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Brent.
Yeah, no problem.
Anything else? For you,
Number 8?
Russ? Nope.
Yeah, number 8,
Yep.
yeah.
Consider discussing issuing requests for proposals for county healthcare plans.
Yeah, so this came up into our personnel committee as well. You know, we had some, I believe Commissioner Myrie brought it up, possibly look at what we are doing with our healthcare plan as of, you know, 2 new commissioners and me studying this as well, trying to figure out everything that happened. Right now, how our process works is we go through the Southwest Service Co-op, which is, or the Southeast, the Southeast Service Co-op, which is a pool of public entities. And Medica is the administrator of that. Last year, our insurance did go up 32% or 30-some percent. It was quite a hit on that. So we are just looking for general conversation as far as your thought processes on our health insurance benefits, and what you would like to see, apparently.
And
This
just
is
to
our
expand,
renewal year, right? This is the year we gotta renew, correct? Or is it next year?
next year,
Next year?
yep, this, the current cycle started in 2022, which means then next year they will have to solicit bids for beginning January of 2027. And I just wanted to just clarify something as far as that 32.93% rate increase. The 2 years prior to that, there was a limitation, so there was a guarantee that our rates wouldn't
Okay.
increase. So for example, our projected premium for 2023 was actually a 23.88% increase. But there was an agreement in place that moderated those rates. So the top rate increase we could receive was 7.5%. You can't sustain those types of increases for very long. So, of course, then, you know, in 2024, then we got hit with this huge 32.93% increase.
And there was some communication prior about that, you know, they, the co-op did say that with our pool, it actually helped us to, it could have been higher without the other people that were involved in that pool. So the pool that we were in actually kept it down to that 32.93, which,
And that's a statewide pool.
yeah.
So,
That makes more sense. That helps understand that 32-plus increase,
Right,
if it
and-
was stabilized.
and, you know, and that can go up and down depending
Yeah.
on what's happening throughout the state and, you know, it's
Well, a lot
all,
of it
it's
depends on how many claims you have too. I mean,
Yeah,
correct.
absolutely,
And we've
yep.
had some pretty horrific years lately, unfortunately, as far as claims rates go.
And I believe that they're getting rid of that rate guarantee.
I believe that.
Yeah, so I think that kind of seeing what's gonna happen with this would be an option. And with, I believe, next year they rebid that?
Right. So if we were going to explore other possibilities, it would have to be done this year. We would not be able to go out for bids. We could now without any penalty. There's no you know, if it's something that we wanted to look into. I did check with a neighboring county as well regarding benefits consultants that they use for going through the RFP process.
And that's what we'd have to do, is go through an RFP, right?
Correct.
Right.
I think we should entertain that. I think we should do that.
Let's do
I
it.
think it's great.
What's it gonna hurt?
See, you know,
Probably something that we should always do.
The cost.
Tank told me the city, I don't know, you can maybe verify this, the city of Caledonia switched to the union and they saved over $100,000 on insurance.
Yeah, all of that and then some.
Cost-wise, to go through some different consultants, put out the RFP, I don't have
So they
those numbers.
switched to the 49ers and the 49ers agreed to take on the entire city, even if we weren't 49ers. And it did save the city an incredible amount of money.
Okay.
Was the plans adequately the same, or?
The plan that we have now compared to what we did have before is unbelievable, better. Dental, eye, health, the deductibles were good, out of pocket was great.
How many people you got, Brian, on the 49ers insurance?
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with them.
Yeah.
Well, what we can do is we'll put something together, we'll reach out to some contacts and figure out what that process will look like. We'll put together an RFP and we'll probably bring it back to, one of your work sessions, just to kind of show you what that's gonna look like, what that RFP is gonna entail, what we're looking for, and we'll just kind of see what's out there and, go from
feel?
there. And, you know, if this is something that you would like to do, worst case scenario is we have good insurance and this is gonna be a normal thing and we continue on with what we're doing now, but
But that's a good way to verify that, you know, that we're getting a good plan, cost effective.
I think you
And
have to
for the
keep
people.
in check.
Yep. So it actually should be something that we do all the time.
I agree.
But just a reminder, though, this will cost
Yes.
money,
You
because,
do it
you know,
with
we
car
will have to
insurance.
hire a
They'll
benefit
do it.
consultant, where right now, the Minnesota Healthcare Consortium is doing this on our behalf. So that's.
Okay. Good to keep in mind.
You got a figure in mind what I think it would cost?
Not a clue without checking with some of these consultants
Okay,
first.
you need to check that out.
yeah.
No, we just, I guess if we have your permission to do that, we can go ahead and
Yeah.
look into
Yeah.
I think we have a consensus to go move forward. and
Okay.
Look
Definitely.
into it.
And we'll put those costs together too, and we'll get some different options as far as, benefits consultants and stuff, and we'll bring it back to you, and we'll be in contact and definitely conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's good to hear. Proactive.
Number 9, consider reviewing and approving payments. Everybody has a chance to look at the
Yep.
bills out there, payments we need to make. Any questions on those?
I'll make a motion to approve the payments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Okay. On to discussion items, administrator updates. Carol, you got anything?
Had negotiation sessions, different things. The MACA update that came, discussed the different approaches that the legislative branches are using in reducing funding, increasing funding.
Okay. All right. For my updates, had a planning commission meeting last week. We only had one item up on the agenda, and that'll be coming before us, I believe. Another thing I gotta bring up too is I got an email yesterday from Dave Walter from Soil and Water. And they have a bill that they are introducing up at the state in support of Groundwater Protection Soil Health Initiative, Bill HF 2916. And they would like to get our letter of support. I've passed that out to you all, and basically what this is it's kind of mirroring what the Olmsted County program was doing, where for cover crop producer, people that they do cover crops, and it's a different kind of a cover crop program. They let you get paid by keeping the cover crop out there longer. It has to be a foot tall before you terminate it. And so to get the maximum benefit of a cover cropping, so it's been working well in Olmsted County, and they would like to make this a whole southeast region Minnesota initiative to program. They're asking $9 million to fund this program. It's a tall ask, but if you guys would be willing to, by consensus, let us sign that letter and get it off to them in support of it, that would be great.
For state funding, right?
Yep.
That's something that the farmers are in support of.
I think some farmers would be. The kicker is getting it to a foot tall, because that gets pretty late in the year,
Doesn't provide a hardship at all.
Well, you would be limited in what you could use. You could hay it, you could graze it. It'd be great for those people.
You don't have to.
You might be able to put soybeans in afterwards too. It's getting too late for corn to let it get that tall, but it's not gonna be for everybody, but I think a lot of people would probably take advantage of it.
It's a volunteer program, right? You volunteer.
And voluntary, right, it's not a mandatory thing, it'd be something that people would sign up for.
If you want it, you could sign up for it.
Yep.
If I didn't want it, I didn't have to.
Right.
Nobody gets penalized or
Oh,
nothing.
no, it's a
just-
volunteer program, people to sign up for, yep,
I think we should go for it. If it helps the groundwater, I'm all for it.
yep.
Definitely.
Brought up at land use a couple times, wasn't it, by Dave?
Yeah, he's mentioned it a couple times, yep. And I know at the last AMC meeting up there in the cities, we had a little sidebar conversation and talked about this, about introducing it into the legislature, and Olmsted County was there with one of their commissioners that talked about it and would like to make it a whole southeast region program, so. And that's where we kind of come to the figure of 9 billion. I mean, they were talking 11, 12 billion, but we thought, well, let's keep it under 10, so.
Billion or million?
A million, I'm sorry, not billion. I'm sorry, I'm just,
Went up when
I've been
$6
reading
billion
federal figures
deficit.
here, I'm sorry.
Get 9 billion out of them.
No, 9 million, I'm sorry.
we know what you mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, especially if there's some consideration on prevention, with contaminated groundwater
Yep.
and the nitrates issue that we do have in the area. Sounds great.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, I'll just go ahead and sign that on behalf of the Houston County and send it to Dave, so.
For sure.
All right, I guess I don't have anything else. Commissioner Wright, what do you have?
Let's see, this week I'm attending a workforce development forum in Rochester. It's a large forum for the regional area. We also have a Houston County Collaborative meeting. And just ongoing work on the research for like cannabis regulations and keeping up with some of the ongoing initiatives that we have that we're going to be discussing this year.
Okay.
That's it.
Commissioner Zender.
Airport committee meeting was Wednesday last week. Excellent meeting. One of the things they brought up was working with the city of Caledonia to get a courtesy car out at our airport to entice people to come in, and whether they're going down to Eitzen or Spring Grove or here, to have that opportunity. So I met with my mayor, Lise, and Administrator Jake Dixon on Monday, and they are in favor of doing this. It would be basically the issue that was brought up, and Brian, you can jump in on this when you want to, is that the county's insurance won't cover that.
Will?
They will not.
Right, I didn't think so, yeah.
No, but the cities will. So we would come up with a similar, some type of a little contract where the car would be provided by the county. It would be sold to the city for $1. The city would insure the car, the county would be responsible for maintenance.
So you need an MOA.
Yeah,
How
and we
often is
talked about
that
having a little contract drawn up. Once it's drawn up and we approve it here, the mayor and Jake said they will have a discussion on it, but go ahead and get it over to them and we move forward.
How often is it used? Or would it be?
So my home county has a couple courtesy cars, Fairmont,
Yeah.
and they're used quite regularly. And I think once the word spreads, and then Brian and I talked about it, once the word spreads that there is a courtesy car out here, one thing that was brought up by people just asking around is, the ice cream at the Wired Rooster was actually brought up. And there might be some people with a courtesy car that would like to fly in and go to the Wired Rooster, knowing that they can get out of the airport
There actually is a lot of flying clubs that just fly to places that have courtesy cars.
to eat.
Doug Moen and my father used to do that, and they only picked places that had, they had a little breakfast club where a couple of them, that's what they did, so.
There's still some
It would help
older
tourism
guys
a
do
little
that.
What's that?
Glenn Kenneberg, a bunch of them, they'll fly up to, well, I don't know, Osseo or someplace and go and have breakfast and come
Yeah.
back.
We always went to Lone Rock, so.
So I'm just curious about the usage of it, and the benefit of using or having a vehicle like that. Would it be used every day? So probably not.
No, they have a little,
Some are more than others, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean-
so certain scheduled time maybe?
yeah, if it's there and somebody, when people start to know that, because a lot of airports, and I mean a lot of airports, smaller airports like ours have courtesy cars. Because it allows them to fly into someplace, maybe they don't have family to come pick them up. So that opportunity to have the county and the city work together on a small project there, I think is very important. It's good for our economic development of our communities, not just Caledonia, but Spring Grove's got some interesting little fun places to go eat over there too, where somebody might wanna try that.
You got brewery over there and
Yeah, there's also, Eitzen's a fun place to go, so Oka. I mean, there's a lot of things that opens up some opportunities for people to come to our communities. So Gov and I both are in very much support of it, and I was very pleased with my city administrator and my mayor that, they're in support of it.
See what you bring forward, I guess.
So the city would buy the car,
For $1 from us.
or we'd buy the car.
Well, we would take, typically what we would do is like a retired car. Like
Oh.
something that maybe we're going to, it could be a retired squad car, it could be a retired, human services car, it could be a retired
public health car,
public health car, or a
county vehicle or
county
something.
vehicle, whatever.
Okay.
They would sell it to the city for $1, the city would insure it, the county would maintain it, so it would just be at the airport, it'd be a, Hughes County courtesy car. Keys to be out there, sign out, whatever, lockbox, Knox locks, whatever, however it wants to be set up out there.
Okay.
And it allows for people to fly in and use,
You're probably looking at an oil change a year,
maybe,
maybe.
depending how many miles get put on it, so,
So who would manage?
the car?
Yeah.
Brian.
Sorry. Okay, I'm just thinking about,
only
once it's
Brian.
there.
Well, those are the details you need to work
Yeah.
out. Come back with an MOA and all the details and how it's gonna work, where you're gonna store it, all that good stuff.
Decorah utilizes one.
What's that?
Decorah has one too. They
Yeah, I know there's a lot of
rotate
airports that
their-
have them, yep.
They rotate their.
It's something that we've discussed for many times in the past few years, so.
Might be able to collect some of the other airports, contracts.
Yeah.
So I think we would have had one by now if it would have been for the insurance. That was our holdup.
Okay.
I assume the city council had to have a discussion on it too as well, right?
Correct.
Yep, yep.
But we first have to discuss it and come up with,
A plan, MOA, yeah.
an MOA, which then we can vote on, and then the city would vote on it. So essentially, the city is going to carry the insurance.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure all those details out.
Get the details figured out and we'll go from there.
Bring more what?
Info.
Well, that's on Brian now. For the contract wise,
Okay.
so.
Anything else?
Nope.
Commissioner Schultz?
We were kinda had some personnel stuff last week, and sounds like next week again, so moving forward on our last contracts, hopefully. And then a little reminder, we have our spring Township Association meeting tonight at 7 p.m.
Yep.
We're at the Justice Center.
Basement there, so we'll be attending that.
All you county employees gotta go and talk.
We'll try to get back. We're hauling a trailer to Adams, so hopefully I can get back, but no promises.
That's all I got.
Commissioner Myrie?
Pretty much touched on the airport and then the union meetings we can't talk about till later, so I guess I'm good. Meeting tonight.
Okay. Any closing public comment? If not, do we have a motion to go into, closed session for labor negotiations under Minnesota statute 13D 103 to discuss labor
So moved.
negotiations?
I'll second it.
All right.
21.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So Kurt made a motion at 11:12 to come into, out of closed session, and Greg seconded it.
Oh, it was unanimous.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was unanimous.
We all voted for that.
Is there anything else that needs to be brought up before the board? Oh, yeah, a summary. We just had, negotiations for, a union labor negotiation, and no decisions were made. We just continue in negotiation. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.